No, what the fuck? How the fuck do I... What is this? This is insane. Violent. So this is in sit. What the fuck? You prophesized this? I did. I said that people are going to push back against immigration. And the reason why, here's the reason why people are pushing back against immigration now. It's because they never were allowed to before. Anybody who was against immigration, period, was constantly labeled as a racist. And I think what's happened, and this is what's going to continue happening, this is where things are going, is that the accusation and the ability to shut down conversation by saying that a person is a racist, I think that right now we are almost at the point where they're going to say, yes. Yep. That's right. Because if you keep, again, if you make unreasonable discussion impossible, if you make reasonable discussion impossible, you make unreasonable discussion inevitable. And this is what's happened. The dislike ratio is crazy. Well, let me see why.
Anti-immigration rallies are taking place in capital cities and regional centres across the country this afternoon. In Melbourne, anti-immigration protesters and a pro-Palestine rally have clashed in the CBD, with pepper spray being deployed.
Pro-Palestine? What the fuck did those have to do with each other? That doesn't even make sense.
And several demonstrators assaulted. Hundreds of police blocked the groups from meeting near Flinders Street Station.
That's smart.
But members from both groups marched down other streets away from the blockade. There were few police in the area at that time. Large crowds...
Why are people marching for Palestine in Australia? Like, I mean, I support Palestine too, but like, why are there all these movements? Like, I feel like this is like a virtue signal movement. Basically, Muslims. I mean, maybe, I guess, right? I mean, sure, it's all across the West. I guess so, because like, yeah, I mean, I don't even see like, what are you really advocating for?
Gathered at Sydney's Belmore Park with many people waving Australian flags. Police have formed a barricade to stop hundreds of counter-protests.
Unite to smash racism.
Who are marching to Hyde Park from clashing with the group. Up to 1,000 police officers will be out in force in the city today, with the Sydney Marathon and the weekly pro-Palestinian rally also taking place.
We have no interest in entering Belmore Park. We do have an interest in, you know, standing shoulder to shoulder with refugee and migrant communities, and then later linking up with the Palestine rally as well.
Counter-protests have also now crossed paths with the anti-immigration rally in Brisbane.
How can you tell that this is in... How can you tell? And to be fair, there's a couple of other... I don't know what that flag is. I don't know what that one is. But yeah, you can clearly see where it's at, right? That's crazy, isn't it? White boomers. Yeah, I know. And the reason why... And so, again... And you see the majority of the protesters here. I mean, there are a lot of women here, which is what I said was very important. But the majority of the protesters are indeed men, for sure. Israel just assassinated Yemen's prime minister. I heard about that. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, but I will say that, like, I mean, it's kind of off topic. I don't want to get into that right now. But, you know, I contrary to what Twitter would have you believe, I'm not an Israel defender. I don't know. Maybe they had a reason for it. Probably they didn't. I don't know. So Houthi prime minister? I have no idea. But yeah.
Thousands of protesters have gathered at the Roma Street Parklands for a march to the Queensland State Parliament. Counter-protests are planned in many locations, including Sydney, Canberra, Brisbane, Melbourne and Hobart. Rallies have also been organised in many regional centres. MPs from Katter's Australia Party are leading a march along Townsville's foreshore. Bob Katter has spoken at the rally.
Oppression becomes law, then resistance becomes duty. Yeah! And underneath that was written, every man dies, but not every man lives.
Yeah.
That is Australia. That is
man.
Our reporter Nabil Al-Nashar is at the rally in Sydney and he joins us now. Hi there, Nabil. What can you tell us about what's going on where you are?
Melissa, well, you could probably
Look
hear
at
the
them all.
crowd behind me.
Yeah.
There's definitely thousands more here in this march, which started in Belmore Park and has now
So
made
this is happening everywhere. Like, this is what's so insane about it, is like, this is happening in America, it's happening in Europe, it's happening in Australia, and I think the dark horse here really is Japan. There's even anti-immigration protests happening in Japan. I would have never, like, whoa, what the fuck? It's a movement? I
way
guess.
to Victoria Park near Sydney University. The numbers have definitely increased from that initial estimate that we had at the beginning. The crowds have many chants throughout the day during their march, including "Send them back," "Save the nation," "Stop the
Yeah, that's stop the invasion. Yeah,
Australia first,
exactly.
and more.
It's actually crazy that Trump, I actually think that Trump winning the election in America was a massive, like, kind of, like, it created a lot of this, or at least it enabled a lot of it. It made people that had these sentiments feel more comfortable with it. It was a catalyst. It was like, as soon as people realized that America was pushing back against this, yeah, 100%.
Many were also chanting
And then
against
Elon
the Prime
buying
Minister,
Twitter?
Anthony
Ooh,
Albanese,
that
as
was
you
it.
might be able to hear some of them behind me now. Some people who we spoke to were very quick to point out that
Yes.
this march is about being anti-immigration. It's about
Yes.
stopping the flow of what they describe as mass migration.
Well, I think that also, like, this is something that right now isn't being discussed a lot because it's not politically correct, and I don't think that conversations have shifted a lot about it. But I think that the anti-immigration protests wouldn't be happening if they were getting immigrants from Europe, or they were getting immigrants from, America or some other place. Whenever you're bringing in a bunch of people from countries that do not speak your native language, you're bringing in people from countries that don't speak, they don't follow your customs, they don't have your religion. No, I'm not saying that it would be good, right? I mean, like, we can go back and watch the fucking, Gangs of New York clip. Very clearly, people always find a way to other each other. But what I'm saying is that I think that this amount of hostility, I don't want the Irish, exactly. No, I'm not, and I don't want to say that would never happen, but I'm saying that there is a huge component to this that is, I mean, you could say race, but, like, I think it's primarily ethnicity and also culture and religion based. I think there's a huge component to this that I think a lot of people don't really talk about, but it's very evidently clear whenever you look at every single one of these situations, right? Every single one. We all know who it is. Yeah, everybody knows. Basically, like, I mean, just very, very simply and plainly, people are protesting against the mass migration from primarily Middle Eastern and African immigrants that are majority either, non-religious or Muslim. That is that is basically what these protests are all for. Everywhere. China too. I don't know about China. I don't see China doing that. Yep, just say it. That's what. Yes, and India. India is a different situation. I think it is personally.
And that it has nothing to do with race. This doesn't seem to be the view shared by everyone we spoke to, though.
That's true. That's true. And the thing is, the media does try to paint this as a bad thing. And again, I don't think that it's necessarily, like, I'm not a big racism fan, but at the same time, whenever enough people believe something, it becomes substantial enough that it has to be discussed.
I think we're being overrun by Indians and Muslims.
Yeah.
I'm not against.
Okay. All right, never mind. Okay, so as you were saying, yeah, all right, I guess, listen, I guess we were farther along on this than I had predicted. I didn't realize it had gone this far yet. Wow, okay. Coming in hard, yep, coming in hot.
Against migration altogether, okay? I'm just over the fact that we're bringing so many in at the same time.
Yeah.
And like she said, they're not conforming to our way of life.
Because you think it's a better country.
Yeah, they have to live they have to live the way that we live.
Yep.
Even the
Yep, that's right. Absolutely.
Event organizer and first speaker Jesse Stewart, who is the husband of Beck Freedom, didn't shy away from the racial element to the discourse.
I think this is something that would happen in most countries, by the way. Like if China had a bunch of immigrants that were coming from like and let's use a comparison to this that I think that a lot of people agree with. Don't we all agree that it's really, really annoying and disrespectful and obnoxious whenever a bunch of Americans come to Japan and try to treat it like America and then act like they need to be catered to as Americans, they need to have signs in English, and they complain about how things are done in Japan? Like, we all agree that this is problematic and annoying and obnoxious, and like, you know, as an American, I find it to be very, like, I would be embarrassed to go there and be seen as maybe one of those people, right? And so, really, this is the same thing. Like, it's the same way that we do that over in, you know, maybe Japan or something like that. These people are doing that over in Australia to an extent. But the other way around is different. Well, it's not to me. And it's not to most people. It's not to the guy that they just interviewed. And I think that it's actually not, period. It's all the same. Basically, you're coming into a foreign country. You want the foreign country to change to accommodate you. It shouldn't. You should leave. If you can't get along, if you don't fit in, there are millions of people there that are living there. Everything's fine. If you can't fit in, then you should leave. Like, I'm not going to go to Saudi Arabia and start complaining that they have their rules this certain way. I'm not going to go to Turkey and complain about them doing prayers 5 times a day. That's Turkey. That's the way that they live. That's their culture. That's their lifestyle. That's their religion. That's everything. And so why the fuck do you come to a country that you just complain about? Well, this is logical. Yes, exactly. You don't want to assimilate, get the hell out. Exactly. Yes, 100%. Would you ever go abroad? Sure, yeah. Yeah, and I would try to be as respectful and polite and non-annoying as possible. As much as I could be, right? It's hard to do that, but I would try. Literally win in Rome? Yes, win in Rome.
Here at this march.
There is a clear global agenda to shame, beat down and replace people with Anglo-Celtic and European heritage. They want to turn our homeland into a multicultural economic zone that is completely conflicting with what
the guy, fuck that!
The founders of this nation, or what our ancestors had in mind for what they wanted to inherit to us.
What he's talking about here, Melissa, of course, known to many as the Great Replacement Theory, which is a conspiracy theory that suggests there's a secret agenda.
This is the reason why the video got so many dislikes. This is it. Is that I think that it's you're making two very big conflations here. So the Great Replacement Theory could be, and in often cases it is, like an anti-Semitic thing that the Jews are trying to replace and get rid of all the white people. But at the same time, people that are being upset about a demographic change in their country, I think every country has the right to decide who wants to be and not be in their country for whatever reason that they want. If China doesn't want to have people in China that aren't Chinese, then that's their own prerogative. If Russia doesn't want to have people in their country that aren't Russian, then that's their prerogative. If Japan doesn't want to have people in their country that aren't Japanese, that's their prerogative. So the idea that this is an off-topic conversation is outrageous. The fact is that every country has the right to self-determination, and they have the right to decide who's allowed in their country and why. And whatever you think the justification should be doesn't matter, because everybody should have the right to assembly, and people should have the right to association. They should be able to choose who they are around and who they're not around collectively as a democratic culture. And I think that is, again, I think that's the best way of doing things, right? So yes. And yeah, exactly. And so it's sovereignty. Yeah, exactly. It's sovereignty. And this is a big thing where it's like there's a lot of countries where I think that the way that they do things is backwards, right? Like I'll give you an example. Like I think you should be able to get an abortion. Poland, I think, is backwards because it doesn't let you have abortions. Am I going to go to Poland and start complaining about Poland not doing this? No, I'm going to go to Poland. I'm going to try to enjoy their culture, and I'm going to try to fit in because I'm not Polish. I am, at that point, I am a guest in that country, and I don't want to go around and tell them the way that they want to live, because I don't want them to come to my country and do the same thing to me, right? And so it's the same thing if I went to Dubai. Well, maybe they don't do everything the same way that I do things in Dubai, right? Or like the Turkey with like the prayer. I don't want to hear that. But am I going to tell them to stop doing it? Absolutely not. So that's really the big difference here. And if they told me, oh, you don't like it, get the fuck out, I would be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's understandable. Have a nice day. Sure. How are contraceptives backwards? I wasn't talking about contraceptives. Poland changed the abortion laws about 2 years ago. Oh, really? I guess I'm not caught up with that. Well, either way, what I'm saying is that there are different countries that I have different opinions on. And obviously, it's the same as like, any of those speech laws in Germany or like, the UK or something. I wouldn't go there and do something that breaks the law there. It's just common sense. It's actually respecting cultures. Yeah, it is. And I respect cultures based off of what, that's more important to me than like trying to go to other places and enforce my values.
People of European descent in Western countries. It's widely understood to also be a racist theory. He also constantly referred to the founding stock of Australia.
This is absolutely racially based. It is 100% racially based. They might not say it, but it absolutely is. Anybody trying to tell you that it's not racially based is out of their mind. It 100% is. And the founding stock, what they are saying is the original white people that came here from, it being a British colony. That's what they're saying. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Culture, not race. It's both, guys. If you think it's not, you're naive.
Being replaced. The presumption here is that Australians of Anglo descent or European descent are the ones who built Australia. This is historically inaccurate and, of course, categorically false, as it sidelines every other group of Australians who have contributed to building the nation over the last 200 years and more. And, of course, First Nation.
And that's the way that a lot of people feel about it. I mean, this is the same sentiment that I think a lot of people have, is that they don't want to give away what they feel like to be the fruits of their labor from like the last, 200 years of this country being developed and everything, to a bunch of foreigners that, again, like had no real like stock in making it that way at all. And so that's really it. Asman, abortion's murder, but in Poland doesn't have to consent to that. Stay in America with your beliefs on that. Why are you getting your feelings hurt because I disagree with you? What are you, some kind of a retard? You some kind of a pussy? I have a different viewpoint on it than you do. I'm not trying to tell you that you have to look at it differently. I'm just telling you what my opinion is. Yeah, like that's I other people are going to disagree with you.
Australians before everybody else. It also ignores the fact that Europeans came to Australia just over 200 years ago.
I'm a ban him. Yeah,
the
go back and ban him.
Has concluded, but the protest continues with speakers
what an annoying person.
Up on stage. There have been many other chants made. There seems to be several factions within this march here today with different and varying views from the ones that are being purported, even amongst the speakers themselves.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Nabil.
No, this is also true, is that there's a confluence of opinions that people have about this. Like, there are some people that are against it for economic reasons, other people that are against it for cultural reasons, people that are against it for religious reasons, people who are against it for race reasons, people who are against it for tax reasons. There's a million reasons.
Reporting there in Sydney for us. Thanks very much for the update.
Yep. There it is. And I had no idea this even happened. Comments. Here we go. Comments are turned off. Man. I wonder why. No freedom of speech? Yeah. And I wonder why. What could possibly be the reason for that? Journalist moment, yeah. You got a license to that free speech? Well, that's why I talk about this stuff. I mean, people can comment on it and say whatever they want in my comment. I don't care, right? It's not my problem. I think that there's a massive censorship problem. There's a huge censorship problems. And so this is another one. We'll watch one more of these, and then I want to move on and look at some other stuff. Because it sure seems like, actually, we'll look at two of them, because this is another one for, like, the different areas. So this is a whole lot. Who's funding and promoting the mass migration? I think that a lot of big businesses, Big business and government agencies are doing it primarily, I think. Governments do it in order to import potential votes, and then businesses do it in order to import low-cost labor. That's the most obvious and most common sense answer. So this is in Melbourne.
We got a path. Let's go.
Yep. That's a lot of people. And you can see that, like, there's very clearly a huge culture clash here. You've got a big culture clash. What's going on? Yep. Man, look at all that. Indonesian was more intense. Yeah, this one's not as bad. At least not yet. I think it'll get this bad, but actually, I don't know if it will or not. March for Australia, end migration. It's trying to put Australia. Yep, there we go. Uh-oh. This is going to be worse? Well, I don't know about that. Depends. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, there it is. Let me go back. I'll see if I can find this. So, just real quick, we'll pull up a chatter. Bro, try Googling for answers sometimes instead of just firing from the hip. That's the most common sense answer, even if you're correct. Which one? Which one? Which one was wrong? I want to know. Because if I had got something wrong, I mean, like, I have no idea. But, like, yeah, I'm just curious. What is it? It's happening all over the world? Yeah, it is. Okay, let's see what this is. This is the last time chatter on who funds immigration. Well, who do you think funds immigration? Like, who do you think funds it? Why are you asking me? Engage with what I said. You didn't say anything. You just said that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I sound uninformed. How can I engage with what is there to engage with? There's nothing to engage with. You're just saying that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, type something. Let me read it. I don't know, bro. I just told you you sound uninformed without specific answers. You sound... I don't know, bro. I just came in your chat and called you stupid. Why are you mad? What is this? I just said you don't know what you're talking about. And then I didn't want to give an example or a counterpoint. Yeah, so the reason why... So here's the reason why. It's because basically... This is the same operating principle that's been happening in other countries as well. Other Western countries function this way also. So it's actually, and if you want to go back into like, like any sort of like reasoning here, there is an old, in the Roman Senate, I think it was Roman Senate, the question was whenever something would be voted on or decided on, the question would be who is to gain? Who will get something out of this and who won't? It could be Greek. I could be getting this slightly wrong. But in order to figure out why something is happening, you have to figure out who is incentivized by it happening. And if you can figure out who's incentivized by it happening, you can almost always figure out who's doing it. Kibono, you're correct. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly about the Latin in it, right? And so, yeah. Of course, it's business interests. Yeah, stop being stupid and listen to what I have to say on your channel. Yeah, stop. But, like, I don't have anything to say. It's just stop being stupid. That's it. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. But there we go. Anyway, let's go back. Let's keep going. I don't want to waste any more time with that. How do I figure it out? Yeah, exactly. And also, by the way, Googling something like that would be very hard to do because in order to, and this is another thing, is that in order to understand like global influence and in order to understand, like, so here's an example, right? So you can have a guy, let's look at like, you know, so let me think of a good example of this. Fuck. Basically what I'm saying is that a lot of movements and things like this are funded by individuals through multiple levels of removal. So, for example, there can be an individual that runs a venture capitalist firm that also owns a smaller firm or a smaller fund that funds other things that is independent from their base area. Like, I mean, George Soros is like the easy way to say this, but what I'm saying is that what George Soros does isn't special. It's just that he has a lot of money. Like Elon Musk effectively does the same thing, right? Like he's trying to advocate for ideas himself. He's trying to do this on his own. That's it. Heritage Foundation, exactly, yes. And Klaus Schwab, yeah, exactly. Well, Klaus Schwab is a fucking, like a European bureaucrat. I don't think that guy really has a lot of power, if you want me to be honest. Like, even though he just dresses like a fucking, like a level 5 wizard, and that's about it. He's not really powerful. The real powerful people, you know, Peter Thiel, yes, exactly, Peter Thiel, he's powerful. Elon Musk, George Soros, you know, Mark Andreessen, fucking, let me think besides that, who else do you have? I mean, any of these tech leaders, Mark Zuckerberg, these, Larry Fink, that guy's powerful, absolutely. And so, yeah, Jeff Bezos, for sure. The Waltons are very powerful. Yeah, those people are powerful. They're the ones really trying to make influences. And they're the ones that actually not even make influences, but they're the ones that can. They're private citizens who can do that. Do you see kind of what I'm saying here? Palantir, Alex? Oh, fucking Alex Karp? Yeah, sure.
Suburban areas today, it doesn't feel like the country I grew up in anymore. I always hear foreign languages and foreign people stare at me.
There it is. This ain't like the way I grew up. They talking all that shit. What the hell language is that? What the fuck? Why aren't they speaking Australian? Yep. I told y'all that's the reason. It's actually that simple. People don't want to feel like a foreigner in their own home. It's that simple.
Put a ring on a young lady's finger and give her security and a family, marry her and have kids if you can't put a roof over your bloody head. It's not good enough.
Now, I don't want to say that this is exactly what I said with Indonesia, but actually that's exactly what I want to say. This is exactly what I said with Indonesia. It's a bunch of young men that have financial insecurity and financial problems. They can't afford to live a good life. And I want to say that in every single one of these countries, when you have a displaced, disgruntled, disadvantaged, military-aged group of fighting men that are unhappy, you are in danger. You are. And, yeah, it can be really bad, really fast. Because at the end of the day, when all the cards are down, military-aged men will run a country. Because they are the strongest, and they are able to extort and use violence to achieve their ends. There's no fucking time in history where this was not true. By the way, every single battle, every single time, every single instance in all of history, that is what decides power.
That's why we're here.
Revolutions common through history.
We can't build enough homes to house the people in the country.
Yeah.
There's bloody 10 cities in the city, everywhere. We've had enough. They need to listen to us.
Make Australia great again.
This country.
This is what I was saying about how Trump was a massive catalyst for this. Trump winning showed a lot of these people that actually their voices were Like, there was a lot more of them than they thought. The power of consensus is so strong.
Now, people are protesting. We are speaking up.
Nope.
Send them bloody home. There are people. There's not many temporary visas.
Without Trump, this is going to be a big problem. Now, this is true. Well, the problem is that, and this is one of the things that I think a lot of people misread, is that people think that Trump is the anti-immigration guy. Oh, no. Oh, no. You want to see the real anti-immigration guy? There he is. That's the guy. This guy dreams about deporting illegals. He's thinking about it all the time. Anti-illegal immigration? That's only one. I think that a lot of people are also they want very limited legal migration as well. Or immigration as well. Just illegals? I think that they want, like, because again, if there's a law that effectively creates mass migration, that people are, so like the legal process of it matters, but the main issue is that it's happening. So if you take something that's bad and you make it legal, that doesn't immediately solve people's problems, does it? Because the bad thing's still happening. So that's what I'm really saying here, right? Love him? Yeah, we'll look at one more and then I'll I don't know how there's so many of these, honestly. It's insane. Legal needs to be limited too, otherwise they just legalize it. Well, I mean, I think that really I think like Canada is running into this issue, and you're seeing a lot of people in Canada that are like very opinionated about it, and like they're kind of unhappy about it seems like they have a lot of Indian immigration. Like that's what at least I hear. I've never been to Canada, but and I think that my understanding is that is all of that is it's legal immigration. It's just things that people disagree with, right? But yeah, you can again. How do you know it's a protest that's not in America? Oh, man. What are the odds, huh? How about that?
But first, tens of thousands of people marched in cities across Australia today to show their pride in Australia and to call for a stop to mass immigration.
The government's supposed to work for us, the people. We don't want half there not going on, so we're making a stand today to make things right. Albo, you work for us, mate, and
you work for us, mate.
Yeah, Australians turned out in force despite the fear-mongering from politicians and the media.
Australia is a nation of foreigners, just like...
Shut the fuck up, bitch. Shut the fuck up. No. When you're born here, your parents were born here, their parents were born here. This isn't a nation of foreigners. This entire, like, I hate this logic. And I think that it's so stupid. It's the idea that every single one of these places is all like, and also, even by the way, how are the people that used to be there before all of the British sent their fucking prisoners to Australia, how are they doing right now? Probably not so good. You look at how Native Americans are doing here. Not so good. Because they got completely occupied and taken over. I mean, I feel like, it's awful. Like
that wonderful song says.
Listen to the song.
From all the lands on earth we come. And Australia isn't a place where we walk with Nazis.
Oh, God. Okay, we got to go back, and we're going to have to do something. And you guys probably know what it's going to be. But I want to go back to the comment that I made about a week ago, okay? Because this has been a big issue. A lot of people have had opinions on this. But I've been trying to be outspoken about this, but nobody's wanted to listen. This is exactly what I'm discussing. The biggest threat to America isn't Hamas, Venezuelan gangs, or violent migrants. It's upper middle class, primarily white women, who would import all of the above to destroy the country in order to satisfy their suicidal empathy. Whenever I was making that tweet, I was thinking about her. That's right.
Australia is a place that went to war with Nazis.
We absolutely condemn the March for Australia rally that's going on today. It is not about increasing social harmony. We think, and I think the vast majority of the Australians think.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, emos are Nazis. Yes, exactly. You went to war against Nazis. Calling everybody who doesn't want to have foreigners in their country Nazis is such a massive disrespectful thing to all of the Romanian populations, disabled populations, LGBT populations, and of course Jewish populations that were systematically genocided by the Nazi Germany. And also, not to mention the oppression that happened to the German people. Like, it's not like the Germans, everything was perfect. Like, you couldn't speak out against a lot of this stuff. You couldn't do any of this stuff. Like, what's so amazing to me is that these people live such pampered, privileged lives that they think that somebody who's not in favor of illegal migration or infinite migration, period, is somehow equivalent to a Nazi. What a ridiculous thing to say. ABC has all their videos comments turned off. They would need to moderate their channels, or else the laws would make them responsible for what's publicized in their comments too. Maybe you're right, but I mean, like, why is it that so? But here's a concern that I have, because you said so ABC is that way. So if ABC is that way because they're an Australian company, then why is Sky News, also an Australian company, able to have comments? I don't believe that argument. I don't think that argument's good enough. Now, there could be something I'm not understanding here, but just on its face value, it doesn't seem like it makes sense. ABC is state-funded? I see. Okay, that's the difference. Got it. Understood.
Think that multiculturalism has been a good thing for our country.
Labor politicians should have had more faith in their fellow Australians. When neo-Nazi leader Jack Eltis was given the microphone in Sydney, large numbers of people booed and many left the event.
At one point in Melbourne, pro-Australia protesters even came face-to-face with pro-Palestinian protesters. Have a look.
There's a lot to unpack in the events of today, but let's start with the key concerns, it seems, of the majority of people who marched around Australia. They're upset that mass immigration has replaced controlled immigration. There was no one that I heard or saw who was anti-immigration. They were anti-mass immigration. And the other concern...
I think that there are a lot of people that are anti-immigration to the extent that it changes the country's demographics in a way that is noticeable. I don't think anybody cares if a few people come over to the country. It's not really a big deal. But when it's happening at a large scale and it's affecting the way that you see your day-to-day life change, then you're going to have a very different dynamic.
Multiculturalism has
and also you could easily say that mass migration is that. But what I'm saying is that it's really kind of like people don't really have a number for this. It's kind of a vibe. That's at least what I think.
As a result, our country is changing. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Yeah. We've got ethnic enclaves around the country. We've got civil unrest every weekend, pro-Palestinian protests. Crime is clearly up as a result of mass immigration in certain areas. And we're continually told on top of that that Australia is built on stolen land and that our history is something to be ashamed of. Is it any wonder then that so many regular mums, dads are...
No, the thing is that the entire, and this is a Karen ideology. That, and also, by the way, all of these, liberal upper middle class Karens, you don't see them giving away their homes to the Aboriginals. You don't see them going back to Britain. No, because all they want to do is sit there and moralize about it so they can make themselves feel good. That's the difference. Do you think it's coincidence that these two movements are clashing? One or two are testing temperature? Well, I think it's because they're diametrically opposed. Pro-Palestine is coming from a place that is culturally very different than like the keeping migration out of Australia. And I think there's a racial component to it, a culture component to it, and of course, obviously, a religious component to it. So they're diametrically opposed by demographics.
Upset for Murray Watt to come on Sky News this morning and say that these protests were just as a broad brushstroke hateful and divisive is disingenuous. He knows very well that the vast majority of people are not at all hateful. But even Brad Batten, the Victorian opposition leader, said anyone who's anti-immigration is racist.
What?
That's the most stupid thing to say.
What?
Immigration is a policy. It's not.
Oh God. What happens when they start agreeing with you? Then what? See, this is the thing that I think that these people don't understand, is that the moment that all of this happens and people just say, you know what? Yeah, that is the way that I feel. Then what? What do you do? Then it's over. Yeah, then the conversation's over. It's coming? I think so.
An indictment on a certain ethnic group. You could be anti-immigration without being racist. And so for the Victorian opposition leader to just write off large numbers of people like that is just silly.
Maybe that's the
but
goal.
I do understand why politicians, maybe
it
Brad
literally is racist. Stop trying to deflect. It's not racist at all. So racist is, like, for example, I think racist is like thinking another group of people is like biologically inferior to you or has some sort of, tendency that's that's racism. Like, not allowing and not wanting immigrants in your country isn't racism. Like, are you racist, or are you some form of phobic because you don't want random people in your house? No. There's a person should be able to dictate who they have in their house and who they don't. And again, this is the problem, is that whenever you take these ideas and you make them personal for an individual, well, obviously it makes perfect sense. But somehow when this happens in an abstraction, it's okay to justify it.
would be nervous about picking a side in this fight because, as we said, these protests were marred by neo-Nazis getting involved and the lack of leadership.
It's always what happens.
In terms of who's running these things, that would be a concern.
It's the same thing as, BLM protests had looters in them. That doesn't mean everybody in the protests at BLM were bad people. That's always what happens.
People as well.
Sure.
So I can understand the reluctance of politicians to get involved, but to dismiss it as hateful and divisive.
What, to get involved in the march, or you're talking about the policy in general?
To get involved in the march.
Okay, no, that I can understand. From what I observed, or everything that I've seen today, there wasn't a lot of neo-Nazis at these protests. The majority of people at these protests were every day.
It's very obvious that anybody who is a neo-Nazi would probably align with what they're advocating for. But I think that the issue is that the implication there is that you have some form of guilt by association, which you don't. Just because there are people that are problematic that agree with you doesn't mean that your opinions are wrong.
Aussies who have quite
It's a silly
frankly
way
had
of thinking about
this
things.
country been overrun by absolute madness, out of control, runaway immigration policy. I mean, we've had more than 1.1 million immigrants come into this country since Labor was elected. And let's be realistic, but we can't sugarcoat this, James. There have been people who've brought into this country, some who hate us, some who hate our values, some who have absolutely no interest in assimilating in this country. So
and they shouldn't be there. None of those people should be there. And nobody in Australia should feel obligated to house them or to support them or to try to make up a reason why they should be there. She's totally right.
Good on those people for getting out there and taking a stand. In fact, I think this marks a pivotal moment. I was actually heartened to see all of those Australian flags. People had them draped over them. They were waving them proudly. Thank goodness, finally, we're seeing some Australian pride.
Well, where was Murray calling out the pro-Palestinian rallies as hateful and divisive? But if an Aussie flag gets waved, all of a sudden it's an extremist behaviour.
And this is the point I want to make, because let's be honest.
Here we go. Next election, you will pay. Yep.
it is not hateful to wave the Australian flag.
Of course not.
It is not hateful to love your country. It is not hateful to be proud of your country. Yet you've got the left who peddle this ridiculous narrative that it's racist to wave the Australian flag.
Sure.
Honestly, it's like they tie themselves in knots of guilt constantly. The absolute self-loathing is out of control. And secondly, it's also not hateful to bring up the fact that people are worried about the state of this country when you've got flags of terror groups being waved so brazenly down the Harbour Bridge, or we saw what happened at the Sydney Opera House days after the Hamas attacks. And I find it appalling that the media are just writing today with this neo-Nazi line, marred by neo-Nazis. Yes, I agree that there were neo-Nazis. I do agree, and
there's always going to be bad actors in every single protest. That doesn't mean the protest is bad. This is such a stupid line of reasoning. It's insane. It's guilt by association. She's popping off. Yeah. And again, the reason why this is the last thing is that the problem that I think these people have is that they still need to try to play defense against this. I think that you lose by even playing this game. Because whenever you get accused of something that you're not doing and it isn't your fault, like let's say other people that are bad agree with you, whenever you fall victim into trying to explain why it's not your fault that a person who's problematic agrees with you, you are now under the control because you're justifying yourself to a person who has no interest in looking at this objectively. These people are not trying to evaluate these things on an objective basis. They're trying to bully and push you into believing what they think. Yeah, never explain yourself. Never explain yourself. Never go and be like, no, that's not really what we stand for. Just tell them to shut the fuck up. It's dishonest. They know it's dishonest. They're framing it that way on purpose, and they want you. They're just trying to actively get you to work against your own goals. Yeah, don't negotiate with retards. Yeah, you can't lose a game that's not meant to be won. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no way that you win against people like that.
I condemn that. It is absolutely abhorrent. We should all be condemning
that. But that's what the media does, right?
But the point of this,
the media look for conflict.
They do, but the majority. Why wouldn't you write the article? Tens of thousands of people marching for Australia, proud of
Black
this country.
Myth, calling that shit, exactly. Just ignore it.
Because that's not going to
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
it's the
matter.
conflict that sells.
And the other thing I would say is that I also don't think it's unfair to question the types of people we are bringing into this country, especially those who come from places whose values are incompatible with Western democracies, and that is...
Man. Damn.
Not racist to talk about, and you're not a bigot to bring it up.
So everything you've said is correct. The question, though, is where does this movement go?
Wow.
So as a result of today, clearly a big movement. First question, do politicians listen, or do they continue to deride these people? If they deride them and demonise them, then we'll see these marches increase and continue, which raises my second question, and that's the question of leadership.
Here's the thing, and it would be just ignore it. It'd be great if you could. In many instances, you can't. I think in a lot of instances, you actually can. Like you can, and again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to moderate your own communities and make sure that you keep crazy people out of your communities, but never let other people try to define your communities by those crazy people. Because in doing so, again, you have to go back to the very beginning. What they're doing is they're trying to make you look wrong. They're not calling this out because of some moral obligation. They're not saying this because they care about the topic. They're just simply doing it because they want to put you in a position that's defensive. So there's a cynical reason for this. You side with evil? Yes, exactly. And so that's really what the issue is. Like, this is the same thing. People try to do this with me all the time. Whenever they say, oh, look at what somebody said in your comment section. This comment has 100 upvotes and it's racist. I don't care. I didn't put that comment. It's not my fault. I don't give a fuck. Like, we delete a lot of things sometimes we don't, right? And that's it. But at the end of the day, you should never take the accountability from somebody else's behavior and then try to take it on yourself. Because the people that are doing that, their goal is to malign me, misrepresent my community, and then ultimately undermine my message. They don't really care about the comment section. Do you think these people really care that somebody made a negative comment in the comment section? No, nobody gives a shit about this. Like, the only reason why they care is because they think that in doing so, they can undermine your message and try to make you look bad, which is what their goal is. That's the main thing.
Have a Nigel Farage in this country to lead a pro-Australian movement, which leaves it open to either idiots leading the movement. I don't know how a neo-Nazi was given a microphone in Sydney.
I agree, appalling.
That was just a stupid decision. Someone messed up badly there.
Wow,
and,
some crazy
so
person.
That,
oh
or
no.
you get radicals taking hold of the movement. So those
also, by the way, you shouldn't be afraid of crazy people speaking, because if there's like some crazy super racist Nazi guy out there, most people were booing them anyway. There's a lot of people that don't even agree with that to begin with. So in the free marketplace of ideas, I think these ideas lose. So just, yeah, okay, somebody's going to go out and say what they say. Okay, well, all right, next, let's move on.
questions that I'm
cheering. Some are, of course.
The problem is that leading up to the last election, okay, migration was not front and centre. Actually, in the last two elections, migration has not been front and centre. It is a debate that both sides of politics seem to shy away from.
Correct.
You will recall that Peter Dutton did make that pledge to cap migration numbers at a certain amount, which, by the way, leading economists, for example, Leith Van Onselen...
This would have happened a lot earlier if social media wasn't censored and controlled. I think social media being completely controlled and censored is a big reason why all of this happened.
It's simply not going to be enough because given the housing crisis, we need to really dramatically scale it back. But they did not prosecute. The coalition were too scared to go that further on. And I can honestly say, and we've got Pauline Hanson coming up on the show tonight.
They're losing numbers to One Nation
because
they talk about it.
Exactly. The only party that is willing to prosecute this argument, and I maintain it is not racist to talk about migration, and you're not a bigot to bring it up. But political parties shy away from it. Forget Labor. They're not going to do anything because high migration actually suits Labor politically, but they're not going to do anything about it. It is up to the coalition to prosecute this, and I do not think that they will.
And in terms of these marches and where they go, and if they get ugly, the fault is not primarily the marchers, it's our mainstream politicians, Labor and Liberal, who refuse to have the conversation.
That's a really good point. This guy's bringing up a really good point, and I think this is the best thing to say, is that the reason why things have escalated this much is because people haven't been given an outlet to express their frustration without being demeaned and then just completely, falsely labeled as a racist.
Yeah.
If you end up with chaos on the streets, it's the fault of politicians who won't allow a conversation. That's the big issue.
I completely agree. Meanwhile, big Australia just keeps getting bigger and bigger. The housing crisis is a mess.
I didn't expect it to get this big, man. Holy shit. Yeah, this kind of stuff, this is crazy. I didn't even realize it was even close to this big. But apparently people are just out of their fucking mind over in Australia. Oh my God. Yeah, hear my outlet? I mean, well, I talk about this stuff. The reason why I talk about it, here's the reason, is because nobody else really does. No other content creators talk about this at all. They don't give any sort of take on it. And if they do, there's always some form of, huge bias. There's a massive, crazy bias. And I think also they're also fucking wrong, too. They're pushing an agenda. That's it. But they shit on you for it? Why? The reason why, so this is the reason why. So a lot of people that do commentary, many of them don't want to touch these social issues, but they also want to effectively have the benefits of having people that like them that are part of these social issues. So they see a person like me, and I'm obviously very divisive. There's a lot of people that like what I say and a lot of people that don't like what I say. And what happens is that they will see that happen. They see what I'm saying, and they will be like, oh, okay, well, I know that it's really, really popular to dislike this person, and so I can shit on this person. In my opinion, if I see a, quote, apolitical content creator at all, or somebody like that that's shitting on me for my political opinions, I will absolutely roast the shit out of them and get them to say, I will push them on different issues. What do you think about trans kids? What do you think about, you know, like all kinds of these other like really, really hot button issues? Because if you want to step into the fucking arena and you want to start criticizing me, you want to start talking about why my opinions are bad and how I'm a bad person, let's hear yours. But you're not going to sit there and throw potatoes from the fucking peanut gallery and say, oh, you're so wrong about this. No, go ahead and express what you think too. And that's it. They think whatever the popular current thing is. No, they think, again, it's easy to criticize. It's hard to stand on any sort of a value. That's really the issue. They have no opinion of their own. Yes, their opinion is trying to just simply get as many people to like them. That's it.